Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to be doing a tag video today, and that is the TBR tag, and I will link the creator down below. I was not tagged by anybody, I just wanted to do this tag. So let's proceed and get into the questions. So the first question is, how do you keep track of your TBR? I do that in two ways. So the first is that my TBR is separate from the books that I have read. So this right here is my paperback TBR shelf, and then I have a separate shelf that is the bottom of this bookcase over here that are my hardback TBR shelf, and then I also have some stacked on the floor, which I'm trying very hard to get all of them on the shelf. So my goal is to have the books off of that are stacked on the floor, to have that be not a thing very, very soon. I'm almost there, not quite. But I keep track of them physically that way. And then I do have a Goodreads list that's called Physical TBR, and all of the books that I have a physical copy of or an ebook copy of, they are all on that list so that I can easily pull them up when I want to read one, move it over to currently reading, or I can easily, browse through. I also can keep track of the number there, separate from my overall spreadsheet. So that's how I keep track of my TBR. Question 2 is your TBR mostly print books or ebooks? Definitely print books. I have only probably 2, maybe 3 books that are ebooks. The rest, which is like 120, are print books. Question 3 is, how do you determine what book you're going to read next from your TBR? I am absolutely a mood reader, so it is literally what am I in the mood for, and then I go look at my shelves and I pick something. That is seriously it. Occasionally it has to do with a challenge for a readathon. Sometimes it's like, can I get that audiobook at the library, or is that a paperback versus a hardback? So those are some things that come into consideration, but the majority of the time it is, what am I in the mood for? The next question is, what book has been on your TBR the longest? That is definitely this one, which is Walden and Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. I have had this book since high school, and I graduated from high school well over 10 years ago. So it's been a while, and I have just not picked it up. It's got really tiny text. It's a mass market paperback. I still really want to read this because I've always been really fascinated by Henry David Thoreau, and I hear such great things about Walden. I just haven't felt the need to pick it up. I am probably eventually gonna go audiobook on this because there are quite a few audiobooks options from my library for this book. The next question is the book you most recently added to your TBR, and that is this one, which is Tell Me How This Ends Well, a novel by David Samuel Levinson. And I actually won this in a Goodreads giveaway. It is an ARC copy. It actually came out in April, and I meant to read it before it came out and review it, but obviously I did not do that because I haven't read this yet. This is basically a story about a family in the year 2022 that is, I think that it's a plot to kill their father, but I don't really remember. I know that I read it and thought, like, that sounds ridiculous. It's also a family saga about a Jewish family, and it just, I don't know. I'm very intrigued. The one thing that kind of put me off reading it right away is that there are no chapter breaks at all. Like, it's literally just one big book because it all takes place, I think, over 1 or 2 days. The next question is, name a book on your TBR that you added just because of the beautiful cover. And technically I didn't add this one because it was a beautiful cover. I actually had this book on my TBR shelf for quite a while. I had picked it up at my used bookstore, but it was one of those like yellowing copies that makes me sneeze when I'm around old paper, and I saw that this particular edition was coming out and it's gorgeous, and so I replaced my old edition with this one purely based on the cover, and that is Pilgrim at Tinker Creek by Annie Dillard. And it is gorgeous. It is one of the Harper Perennial Olive editions, which are just lovely. I have one other one of these. I think it's behind me. Yeah. I have Ann Patchett's State of Wonder in this edition too. Don't really love these for reading because they're so tiny and, you know, mass market, but gorgeous and new, so I won't sneeze the whole time I read it. I don't know a whole lot about this, which is terrible because Annie Dillard is one of the more famous authors that graduated from my university, Hollins, and that's what's driven me to want to read it, but I know a lot of people really love this. The next one is a book on your TBR that you never plan on reading, and I don't think there's anything on my TBR that I never plan on reading. The ones that are at the bottom of my priority list, I'm not going to pull them off the shelf. They're down here at the bottom of my hardcover shelf. It's the complete works of The Wizard of Oz. I've read volume 1, but there's like 5 volumes, and after the actual Wizard of Oz story, the rest of them just get weirder and more ridiculous and really not all that fun. I think maybe when we have children, they'll get read to our children, but at this point, I'm not really looking to read those anytime soon, and I may actually move them off of my TBR, like just to be decorative objects somewhere until we do have children, because I just don't want to read them. The next one is an unpublished book on your TBR that you're excited to read. I don't currently have anything on my TBR that is unpublished. The most recent one would be the one I just showed you, that Tell Me How This Ends Well, but that came out in April. An unpublished book that will be on my TBR as soon as I can get my hands on it, which is going to be quite a while from now because it doesn't come out until January of 2018, is The English Wife, I think is the name of it, by Lauren Willig, because I'm going to buy everything my girl Lauren Willig writes. So that one, that's what I'm excited about come 2018. The next question is a book on your TBR that everyone has read but you. I have 2. The first one is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, which I need to read this. Winks and I had talked about doing a buddy read of this, and then I just fell off the bandwagon real hard, and I know she's finished this already. The other one is Uprooted by Naomi Novak. I got this, I've been wanting to read this. Actually probably will end up listening to the audiobook, but I got this in a Books and Bloggers swap, and I've had it for a while. So these two, both, again, BookTube darlings. I have read neither of them, and they've been sitting on my shelf for quite a while. Next up is a book that everyone has recommended to you, and that one I have, I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. I had this recommended to me in my BookTuber Recommends project, and it's one that I have just heard so many people talk about and recommend, and that I'm really interested in reading, and I really just need to get to this. Also, this gorgeous cover. And then a book on your TBR that you are dying to read. Yep, I want to start this, the quartet of the Rainwild Chronicles by Robin Hobb. I would just read them all straight through, all of her books, but then I would never read anything else or listen to anything else on audiobook. Library or Scribd, I think it's Scribd. Scribd has the audiobooks of these, or at least the first 3, so I have Career of Evil out from the library right now to listen to, but once I'm done with that, I am probably going to move on to this and go through the next 4, and then I will be on the last 3 books, which I'm a little terrified and don't want to get to, but also I want to know what happens. I want to know all of the things that happen because Robin Hobb and the Realm of the Elderlings, I want to live there. And the last question is, how many books do you have on your TBR shelf? I think at the last count it was 123 books, not counting the 2 I'm reading, so technically 125. However, today I am doing a bit of a purge of books I know I'm not going to read and taking some of them to my local used bookstore and feeling a lot lighter about the books I have on my shelves and prioritizing what I actually want to read. So it's going to get lighter probably before this video goes up, but I'm very okay with the number of books I have. I would like it to be under 100, but realistically 20 of those books are Animorph books, and it's kind of like, do those really count? they count, but you know. So that is it. If you do want to do this book tag, I definitely encourage you to. It's a lot of fun. I liked looking at my shelves and kind of seeing what I have and thinking a little bit more critically about my TBR, and now I'm gonna get to decluttering it. So yeah, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye!